body of 8-year-old Emily Chen lay mutilated on the blood-soaked ground, her innocent eyes wide open and lifeless after the Komar Empire cruelly butchered her colony to send humanity a message we would never forget. Submit to the Komar within 30 days or be annihilated. But instead of kneeling to the alien bastards who slaughtered a child in cold blood, we would activate our ancient fleet for the first time in centuries and show the Komar the true meaning of unrelenting human vengeance. Admiral Davis seethed with rage as he reviewed the brutal images and ultimatums sent by the Komar Sirefather. He knew the insectoid warriors were ruthless, having enslaved dozens of species. But to murder a young girl so callously just to intimidate Earth, this savagery could not stand. Davis marched into the emergency council meeting, interrupting the bickering politicians. "Enough debate," Davis shouted. "The Komar crossed a line. It's time to wake the Titans." The room fell silent. The leaders knew of the ancient human war fleet, hidden away after a calamitous civil war threatened to destroy Earth centuries ago. Far more advanced than any modern ships, the Titan vessels had been kept in secret bunkers on the dark side of the moon, maintained for generations for the day they might be needed again. Many counselors still hesitated to go to war, even after this atrocity. "Davis, we can't fight the Komar," one sputtered. "Our analysis shows their armada of fast attack ships would overwhelm us in weeks. We'll have to negotiate." "No," Davis snapped. "The Komar will never negotiate with those they see as inferior. I've studied them for decades. They only respect force. We either fight now or submit to an eternity of subjugation. Our ancient fleet can defeat them." "You would risk everything on untested ships from a bygone era against a vastly larger foe. Their numbers won't matter once the Titans unleash their singularity missiles and quantum shields. This is our chance to emerge from isolation and end Komar tyranny in the galaxy." Davis slammed his fist on the table. "We can avenge Emily Chen and all the children of Earth they threaten. Give me the fleet and I will burn their empire to ashes." Murmurs spread through the chamber, and the counselors slowly nodded. The die was cast. Humanity would fight the mighty Komar and save the human race from slavery and death. As the 30-day countdown began, Davis raced to the ancient lunar shipyards with his engineers. The Titan vessels were in rough shape after their long dormancy, but they rumbled to life one by one. Some key systems remained offline. They would be outgunned against the Komar horde. Yet they had to try, no matter the odds. Davis gazed upon the brave volunteers crewing the ships, all willing to sacrifice everything for Earth. "Today, we embark on a battle for humanity's very survival," he declared. "The road ahead is dark, but we carry the light of justice. We fight for Emily and all the fallen. The Komar will pay for their sins. All ships, advance." Fusion drives flared into life, echoing the fire in every human heart as the fleet shot toward the stars and the greatest test humanity would ever face. The battered human fleet limped through the void, engines sparking and hulls mangled from the devastating Komar ambush. Medics rushed through smoke-filled corridors, treating the wounded as damage control teams welded gashed bulkheads. Davis gritted his teeth, rallying the surviving ships to regroup at a remote asteroid field. Chunks of space rock spun lazily as the fleet took refuge, concealed from Komar scans. Repair crews swarmed over the ships, working frantically to patch the worst damage and bring weapons back online. In the sick bay of the flagship, Admiral Knox grabbed Davis's arm, his face grim. "Sir, our intel teams just finished decrypting the data cores from that Komar research base." Knox swallowed hard. "The Nova weapon. It's already operational. The attack on the colony was just a test firing." Davis tightened fists, the image of Emily Chen's butchered corpse flashing through his mind. How long until they deploy it for real? Days, a week at most. When that thing detonates, it'll scour entire systems with a dark energy nova. Billions will die. Davis squeezed his eyes shut. The Komar's cruelty knew no bounds. He had to stop them here and now, before that monstrosity wiped out innocent worlds. An idea formed, as desperate as it was audacious. "The codes we captured from Overseer Zolketh. Could they get a small team through the Komar homeworld's defenses? Knox nodded slowly. Possibly. Their authorizations haven't been revoked yet. Why? We need to disable that weapon at the source. I want our best engineers and hackers to infiltrate the control nexus and upload a kill virus. Davis clasped Knox's shoulder. It's our only shot. As the plan took shape, Davis gathered the fleet's captains. The Komar will have that weapon locked down tight. We need to give the virus team a chance to slip through. He pointed to the planet's projected defense grid. Commander Reyna, you'll lead a diversionary strike to draw their forces out of position. Reyna stepped forward, her eyes hard as flint. My squadron's hulls were badly mauled, sir. We can't take another pounding like before. Davis smiled grimly. You won't have to. He gestured to the asteroids drifting by. These rocks are filled with tungsten nanocrystals. We'll mine them to forge new armor for your ships, undetectable to Komar scans. Hit hard, hit fast, and leave them chasing ghosts. As Reyna's squad welded the miracle alloy to their hulls, the virus team boarded a captured Komar transport, its command systems enslaved by Zolketh's codes. The Terran fleet took up positions around the homeworld, drawing the Komar armada into a distant holding action. On Davis's signal, Reyna's ship slipped past the defense platforms, scanners blinded by their adaptive camouflage. Flitting between installations, the squad hammered anti-orbital batteries and comm relays with surgical strikes, vanishing before the Komar could lock on. Amid the chaos, the transport descended to the planet's smoggy surface, setting down in a polluted industrial zone. The virus team crept through choking clouds of industrial runoff, following a fading radiation trail to a heavy blast door. Zolketh's codes parted the reinforced barrier, and the humans descended into the horrors below. Sickly green light suffused the Nova control hub, emanating from a pulsing sphere of dark energy suspended in a containment field. Recoiling from the weapon's hideous glow, the engineers quickly located a maintenance access port and jacked into the control system. Vicious attack barriers lunged at them from the Nexus computers, AIs bred for electronic warfare. The engineers struck back with customized worms and killer apps, battling through the hostile system in a silent duel of code. Proximity alarms flashed on their optical feeds. Komar forces were massing outside the complex. The engineers' fingers flew over keys and circuit boards in desperate haste. Data packets flew back and forth as the virus wormed through the Komar network towards the Nova's firing controls. A shaped breach charge detonated against the hub's armored doors. Insectoid warriors poured through the gap, plasma rifles humming. The Terran engineers drew sidearms and opened fire, even as they struggled to maintain their digital assault. High above, Reyna saw the massing Komar forces and knew the engineers were out of time. Gripping her restraints, she hurled her ship into a screaming dive and targeted the capital city's central power station. The Komar command post disintegrated as Reyna's hull speared through layers of concrete and metal, secondary explosions rippling across the city. The EMP from the burst reactors washed over the battle raging in the Nova's control hub. Komar forces reeled, implants and optics shorting out from the electromagnetic onslaught. In that instant of confusion, the battered engineers stabbed the command to transmit their virus. The dark energy sphere quivered, interlocks failing in a cascading overload. Waves of disruptor code permeated the containment systems, tripping breakers and frying regulators. Arcs of black lightning writhed across the Nova's shell as it shuddered in its housing. The virus burrowed deep into the Komar systems, devouring data and rewriting baselines. Poisoned by the human programming, the weapon's computers stuttered and crashed. The power draw from the dark energy matrix plummeted to nothing as the device fell dormant, paralyzed by the Terran attack. Komar security forces began to reboot, shaking off the EMP blast. The engineers fell back, fighting a desperate retreat to their concealed transport. Emergency alerts wailed as the aliens realized their planet's primary power grid had crashed. The sabotage team blasted off just steps ahead of the swarming Komar troops, skating the edge of the EMP field as they clawed for orbit. Davis listened to their frantic calls on the fleet channel, not daring to breathe. "Virus team, away." The words were ragged with exhaustion and near disbelief. "Mission accomplished, sir. The Nova weapon is disabled." Cheers rang through the Terran fleet, even as the inevitable Komar counterattack began to gather. The humans had earned a crucial victory, shattering the enemy's visions of easy conquest. But even as the ships regrouped, licking their wounds, Davis knew this battle had only bought them time. The Komar would not rest until they had destroyed the hairless apes who dared stand against them. As the fleets drew back to rearm for the coming showdown, every human knew the fight was far from finished, but they had struck the first blow for justice and freedom in the stars. And that was a cause they would never stop defending. The human fleet regrouped in the shadow of a gas giant, licking their wounds after the strike on the Komar Nova weapon. Repair crews worked round the clock welding hull breaches and replacing fried systems. In the command center of the flagship, Admiral Davis pored over tactical displays with his staff. "Sir, we've decoded more of Zolketh's intel," reported Lieutenant Chen. "The Sire Father's recalling every warship to the homeworld. They're massing for an all-out assault." Davis nodded grimly. "They want payback for their doomsday toy, but their focus on defense gives us an opening." He turned to Admiral Knox. "I need you to lead a strike team. We're going to hit them where it hurts, their shipyards." Knox's eyes widened. "A direct assault on their production facilities? Sir, that's suicide." "Not an assault," Davis clarified. "Infiltration. We salvaged a Komar transport. Your team will ride it in, then upload a virus to their construction computers." Over the next days, Knox's elite squad prepped for the mission. They studied Komar ship schematics, drilled on breaching tactics, and ran simulations of the virus upload. The captured transport was stripped down and rebuilt with false transponder codes. When the moment came, Knox's team launched toward the unmanned Komar shipyard. Hearts raced as they approached the massive orbital facility. A tense silence filled the transport as they transmitted their forged credentials. "Docking clearance granted," the Komar AI responded. Sighs of relief echoed through the cabin. The humans moved swiftly once aboard, stunning the skeleton security crew with EMPs. In the central control hub, they jacked into the shipyard mainframe. The Komar firewalls put up fierce resistance, but the human hackers methodically dismantled the defenses. "We're in," reported the lead tech. "Uploading virus now." As the malicious code spread through the system, the team retreated to their transport and slipped away undetected. For weeks, the sabotage went unnoticed as the virus subtly corrupted new ship components. Armor plates developed microscopic flaws. Targeting systems drifted out of alignment. Reactor fuel mixes were tweaked to unstable levels. Meanwhile, Davis led the human fleet in a bold offensive. They struck at a mineral-rich asteroid belt, overwhelming the thin Komar defenses. Mining ships swarmed over the rocky fragments, extracting valuable ores. Construction crews worked feverishly to transform the asteroids into a fortified naval station. Tungsten rods were forged into massive gun barrels. Fusion reactors were jury-rigged to power energy shields. The entire belt became an impenetrable bastion. At last, the hammer fell. Alarms blared as Komar sensors detected the incoming armada. On the bridge of his flagship, Davis squared his shoulders and opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Davis to all ships and stations. The enemy approaches in force. We've bled them, we've deceived them, but now comes the decisive battle. Fight with everything you have. For Earth, for justice, for little Emily Chen. We stop the Komar here or nowhere. All hands to battle stations." A chorus of affirmatives rang out as crews scrambled to their posts. Point defense turrets swiveled to track incoming bogies. Missile tubes were loaded and primed. The two fleets collided in a maelstrom of fire and destruction. Human gunners exploited the sabotaged weak points in Komar armor, while Knox's virus caused enemy ships to suffer critical malfunctions mid-battle. Railguns on the fortified asteroids hurled tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds, punching clean through Komar hulls. But still the aliens pressed forward, their numbers seemingly endless. The battle raged on, a brutal dance of destruction across the void. Human ships darted and weaved, their sabotage tactics bearing fruit as Komar vessels sputtered and failed. But the sheer weight of alien numbers pressed down, slowly crushing the defenders. On the bridge of his command ship, Admiral Davis gripped the chairs of his chair as another volley slammed into their shields. Sparks erupted from overloaded consoles as the quantum barrier flickered and faded. "Shields at 12% and falling, sir," Lieutenant Chen shouted over the din of alarms. Davis punched the fleet-wide comm. "All ships, fall back to the asteroid base. We'll cover your retreat." As the human fleet disengaged, Davis's ship and a handful of escorts plunged deeper into the fray. They twisted through curtains of plasma fire, guns blazing. The Admiral's vessel shuddered as it took hit after hit, but its guns found their mark. A precise salvo tore into the Komar flagship's hull, exploiting a weakness planted by the virus. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as systems cascaded into failure. "Direct hit on their main reactor," Tactical Officer Ramirez reported. "But sir, it's going critical. They're on a collision course." Davis's eyes widened as he saw the massive alien ship bearing down on them, trailing fire and debris. In that split second, he made his choice. "All hands, prepare for emergency transport," he barked. His fingers flew over the console, inputting the command codes for the forbidden subspace transporter. The bridge crew vanished in flashes of light, materializing in scattered locations across the fortified asteroid field. Davis remained alone on the empty bridge, hands steady on the helm as he angled his crippled ship towards the Komar flagship's gaping wound. "For Earth," he whispered, closing his eyes as the two vessels met in a cataclysmic embrace. The resulting explosion tore a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. Where two mighty warships had been, a swirling vortex of absolute darkness bloomed. The localized black hole's gravity well caught nearby Komar ships, crushing and shredding them as they spiraled into oblivion. On the command deck of the asteroid base, Admiral Knox stared at the tactical display in horror and awe. "Davis, you magnificent bastard!" he breathed. But there was no time to mourn. A junior officer rushed up, face pale. "Sir, we've intercepted a transmission from the Komar homeworld. The Sire Father. He's gone mad." Knox listened to the intercepted orders, his blood running cold. The alien leader, rather than accept defeat, had activated a doomsday protocol to destroy his own world and take the human fleet with it. "How long do we have?" Knox demanded. "Minutes, sir, maybe less." Knox's mind raced. There was only one option, as insane as it was. "Prep the singularity bomb," he ordered. "We're going to fight fire with fire." As the crew scrambled to arm the weapon, Knox addressed the scattered fleet. "This is our last stand," he said, his voice steady despite the weight in his chest. "We either succeed here, or we don't go home at all." The singularity bomb launched just as the Komar planetary core began to destabilize. Knox watched the weapons track, praying it would reach its target in time. A blinding flash erupted from the alien homeworld as the black hole took root, devouring the runaway reaction. The shockwaves slammed into the human ships, overloading systems and sending them tumbling through space. When the chaos subsided, Knox found himself staring out at an unfamiliar starfield. Their navigation systems were fried, leaving them adrift in the cosmic ocean. "Signal the fleet," he ordered, his voice hoarse. "I want a full accounting of survivors and damage." As reports trickled in, the grim reality set in. They had won the battle, but at a terrible cost. Cut off from Earth, lost in the depths of space, humanity's remnants faced an uncertain future among the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.